Don't do what I did and get to the home inspection process, not have any idea how much it costs, and decide not to get a home inspection because you wanted to save $600. That is stupid. Home ownership is amazing. It's an awesome investment, but there are costs associated with it in addition to the house that you need to know about. When you purchase a home, if you are like 87% of Americans, I think that's the right number, and you're financing the home, there are going to be multiple costs that you pay both at closing and before closing for the house in addition to what you are putting down. I remember when I bought my first home, I had also just gotten my real estate license. I had no idea what I was doing. So I was a new agent, I was my first client, and I was a first-time home buyer. So it was this like triple whammy of inexperience. It was awful. But anyway, shout out to Doug, my loan officer, for his patience with me throughout this. Going into the process, I was thinking, if I'm putting $20,000 down on a house, I should only have to bring $20,000 to closing. And I was wrong. I mean, it's not like I had to bring $30,000, but there was a few $1,000 difference, and I did not understand how that all worked. So I'm going to show you today exactly what I paid when I purchased my home for a couple reasons. One, I want you to be aware of how fluid this all is and how your closing costs can change greatly depending on what type of loan product you get, who you go with for your loan, if you're negotiating for an interest rate buy down, all of that. And then two, because I want you to be aware that when you buy a home, you need to have more budgeted for besides just your down payment. First of all, the home inspection. We're not going to cover this on the closing disclosure. That's the form that shows you all of your costs associated with the loan. The home inspection is going to be paid out of pocket before closing. I want you to set aside like $650 to $700 with that. That's on the high side. That's going to include the cost of a sewer scope and a radon test, both of which I would recommend doing. But put that money aside if you're thinking about buying a home. You're going to thank yourself later. Don't do what I did and get to the home inspection process, not have any idea how much it costs, and decide not to get a home inspection because you wanted to save $600. That is stupid, and I've lucked out so far. Haven't found anything horribly wrong in my house yet, but there are plenty of clients of mine who have paid the $600 and uncovered a $10,000 issue with the home, so it saved their butts. If you are an investor, if you have a plan in place to buy the home as is, or if it's just the steal of a century, then yes, there are exceptions obviously to this rule, but broad strokes, first-time home buyer, anyone else going through this process, I would highly advise against it. Okay, so now the closing disclosure. This is a super confusing, detailed document that shows you everything that you have to pay for the house in addition to your down payment. So my home, we paid $221,500 for it. Our loan amount was $199,350, 5% interest rate. And then down here on page 2, this is when the closing cost details start to get outlined. For our origination charges, we ended up, and this is a unique thing, not everyone is going to have this, we bought down our interest rate. So everyone's going to have an origination fee of some sort, which is a fee to get your mortgage that you pay to your mortgage lender, your bank, whoever you're using. But not everyone is going to have this 1.5% of loan amount. What we wanted to do is get our monthly payments lower, so we paid a little more interest up front. That's how that works. Talk to your lender about it. Get a good lender. If you need a lender, give me a call. I have some great lenders I could recommend to you. And then there are also all these services that you have to get, like your credit report, the appraisal. The appraisal is another one you need to pay before closing. You're going to pay that out of pocket when the appraisal is completed, and it's going to be about $500. That is like 9 out of the 10 appraisals I've seen recently have been $500. One of them I think was $450. So set aside $500 for that. Be prepared to have to pay that if you want to get a loan. There's all these fees regarding the title and the abstract, ownership documents, legal jargon, really confusing, not stuff that you need to worry about too much if you have an agent who's able to explain it to you. So the total loan costs that I had for my home was $5,562. And now, again, that $3,000 that we paid to buy down our interest rate, not everyone is going to have that. So don't think it's always going to cost this much just for your loan costs. Because then there's also these other costs that you pay at closing, which they're going to require: homeowner's insurance premium, property taxes, stuff that your lender is going to require from you. The cost of this came out for us about $2,500. So if we had gone the more normal route and we had not bought down our interest rate, for closing costs, we'd be looking at right around $5,000. But then down here, what I want you to see is this adjustments portion. Another thing that was unique about us is we had the seller pay some closing costs for us. That is another aspect of the loan that can be very fluid. Talk to your lender about this. If they're a good lender, and you're trying to accomplish a home purchase with some different terms, some creative financing where you get your monthly payments a little bit lower, but the seller still walks away with the same amount of money, they'll be able to walk you through this, how to negotiate for seller credits, and that's the seller paying for some of your closing costs. But what we also have here is adjustments and other credits. And what these are, to see section L, these are the county taxes prorated at closing. So the simplest way I can explain this is if I'm selling my house right now, I'm living here, it's September of 2023, and I owe taxes for September of 2023 all the way back for the last year. But those taxes aren't collected by the county until September of 2024. So if I close on my house today and someone's moving in, then I need to give them the money that they're going to need to pay the county when those taxes come due. Super confusing. I hate the way property taxes are done in Iowa, but when you're buying a house, it's pretty nice because you get, typically, depending on the price point of the home and what time of year you're buying it in, you're going to get a couple $1,000s off of your cash to close. So then when we go back up here calculating cash to close, and we look at what we had to bring to the closing table, our down payment was $22,150. And we had $8,000 in closing costs in our case with our interest rate buy down. But then we had our earnest money deposit, which we put down at the start of the process that was applying to our down payment already. We had the $4,000 in seller credits, and then we had the $2,100 in taxes prorated to us. So even though we were putting $22,150 down, and we had closing costs totaling $8,000, we had to bring less cash to close than we were putting down on the home. And even when you're not negotiating for this seller credit of like $4,000 or so, or any amount, typically the cash you need to bring to close, what I see for a median priced home in the area for people putting 10, 15% down, is going to be about $3,000 in addition to your down payment. Like I said this a million times, I can't stress enough, you can't just assume it's going to be $3,000. Give me a call if you need a lender. Talk to your lender at the start of the process to figure out what these costs are going to be. They'll be able to give you a loan estimate form that looks similar to this. If they're a good lender, they'll take the time to sit down with you and walk you through it and explain all of these costs and the options you have. But that is how much it really costs to buy a home in Iowa. If you have any questions about this, or if you need any assistance whatsoever with the home purchase process, if you're just getting started, if you've been going to open houses for a little while, please give me a call. I would be so honored to get to work for you and to help in any way I can. I would love that, would love to hear from you. And if you have a quick second, please hit the like and subscribe button before you go. It means a lot to me. I appreciate you guys.